see white lies dancing between the lines. She's an atheist. Carousels in her mind, spinning all in her eyes. She's an atheist.
Hello and welcome to the Digital Freethought Radio Hour on WOZO Radio, 103.9 LP FM right here in Knoxville, Tennessee. Today is Sunday morning, November 22nd. I'm Larry Rhodes, or Doubter 5, and as usual, we have our co-host, Wombat, on the phone with us. Hello, Wombat.
Oh, sashiburi dane, mina.
I'll need a translation for that. And our guests today are Doubtfire. Say hello. And George. Hey, George.
Hi.
Digital
Hello.
Freethought Radio Hour is a talk radio show about atheism, free thought, rational thought, humanism, and the sciences. And conversely, we'll also talk about religion, religious faiths, gods, holy books, and superstition. And if you get the feeling that you're the only non-believer in Knoxville, well, you're just not. There are several atheist, free-thinking, and rationalist groups that exist right here in Knoxville, and we'll be telling you how you can connect with them right after the mid-show break. If you'd like to interact with us during the show, go to Facebook and search for Freethought Radio Hour. Digital Freethought Radio Hour page, and use the messaging function to send us questions and or comments. Wombat, what do you have for us today as far as the topic goes?
Hey, today we're going to be talking about spiritual healing and what can we do about it with regard to COVID. And I think that's going to be pretty crazy. But I think before we go into it, we would normally send our love out to our own Dread Pirate Higgs, but he's going to be taking some naps right now. He's working really hard. So until then, I want to go around table and just see how everyone's doing today. Larry, how you folding up? How you feel?
Oh, doing fine. Just staying in,
Nice.
staying safe, playing computer
Cool.
games.
Good job staying 6 feet away from people. Yeah.
Yeah, warring on Facebook with, topics of different types, usually atheism versus belief.
Larry, you're comfortably retired. I wonder how is it that you can actually spend your time enjoyably starting meme wars with people on Facebook? That seems like the last thing I want to be getting my hands into.
It's just like the believers do it because they want to make the world a better place for for everybody. They believe that religious belief is necessary to make a person a moral person. Well, I know that there's a lot of downside and a lot of harm that come from religious belief. So I also want to make the world a better place by fighting that harm.
Okay. Yeah. He's got to do those fights, man. And he is making memes all day. Like, you got to just track this guy down.
And holding conversations and taking exception to some of the things that are said.
Sure.
But I spend a lot of time on Facebook and playing.
Keep posting those
games.
pictures though. Yeah. Like, I think at the end of the day, like, you should come up with the second book that's just a bunch of all the pictures that you like colored together.
And my memes. A meme book.
Yeah, meme book. Yeah. Okay. Scott Williamson, how you doing? Doubtfire, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. Just staying in as much as possible and working at, I work at a hospital usually.
Wow.
Checking, and it's a so-called clean, sterile environment. So
I can't understand you. I'm happy because of the echo. I missed what you said.
He said he was working at a hospital. Yeah. He works at a hospital.
Oh, okay. That's what I thought he said.
It's supposed to be a sterile environment, but there's a lot of sick people coming in. Like, how close are you to these guys?
Well, luckily this week, it was a new section of the whole hospital in Irvine. So there was a lot of construction work going on. So basically, I was just running the IT stuff, like the wiring and the computer stuff, and configuring all that equipment for them, scanners and the hospital equipment. So it was not around sick people.
Good. Okay, that's good, man. Stay safe. You got a family. That's the thing that we're going to be going into that in more detail. George, I'd actually like for you to set up that the rant for today. But before we go to you, George, I want to show you guys something that I just got in the mail. Super happy about it. Oh, it's my Made America Great Already hat. Available for the low cost of $8. You too can annoy all of your neighbors in Kentucky or in Tennessee. I think when this came in the mail, I was so happy. I'm debating. So like at my job, there's two guys that have the original MAGA hats like right there on the top of their dash hood. And I'm just like, how do I play this game right? Because I don't want to go to. I'm not going to go in the work with it, but I could leave it on my dashboard too and park strategically between the two cars and be like, "What are you going to do? What are you going to do?" I already got the.
For those who are listening on a podcast, it's a blue hat with white lettering.
Yes, yeah. I'm going to keep it on.
And the lettering says,
"Made America Great."
Made America
great.
Made
already.
America great already.
It's true, and it is true. Like, you know, I believe we all work together to make this country great since the beginning, and it is truly the benefit of a melting pot of different cultures and different ideas and different ideologies coming together. And who's to say that one person can make it a great thing? And
I think that the greatness of America lies in our diversity, the differences between us.
I agree.
Perspectives that we bring. Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
yes,
George, how have you been? And would you like to start off the thing on COVID? Like, how are things in Athens?
The things in Athens are absolutely horrendous. Our death rate from COVID has more than doubled in 3 weeks. So we have more dead people in the last 3 weeks in this county than we've had in the entire preceding year. And I am working on an Amazon order right now, a big Amazon order, because to tell you the truth, I'm simply afraid to go shopping in the stores. There is an increased number of people going to the stores and not wearing masks, and they're doing it in defiance. Defiance of what? I am not completely sure. I mean, it's a political statement. It's a don't tread on me type of sentiment. And, you know, as a certified old person, as a person, you know, in the age range of people who are, you know,
Wait, I'm gonna have to see that
enthusiastically dying.
Larry's going to card you for a second. Hold on a second.
Well, so two of the food stores here in town have put up big signs by the entrance that say masks required.
Right.
And people are just ignoring it.
Right.
So I went and I lost it. I lost it at one of the supermarkets. So there were two men with beards standing on the checkout line with no masks on. And I was entering the store. And it's like, I just couldn't stop myself. I said, "Hey, you guys are not wearing masks." And they replied, "Yep." And I said, "You want me to die?" And the guy said, "Nope." And then a woman walked by me and said, "God bless you."
It's the perfect storm.
And I felt,
for fans of the
I'm
show,
in
this
a
is
nut house.
like the triple trigger for George. Born
Was
a
she wearing a mask?
Yeah, yes, she was. I feel I am in an insane asylum here. And so I just happened to be passed by the manager who was wearing a mask, and he was wearing his badge. Now, this is the man whose name is printed on every receipt. This is a huge supermarket. It's in a former Walmart. And I said to him, "You know, I'm really glad that you put up a sign at the entrance that said masks are required." He said, "Thank you." I said to him, "But I want you to enforce it. There's people walking around here with masks on." He says, "I can't do that." You know?
Oh, yeah.
So I said to him, do you realize how many people have died in the last 3 weeks here about COVID? He says, "I can't stop the people from coming in here." And so I have a newspaper here. This is the Daily Post Athenian.
Okay.
Which comes out 4 days a week. That qualifies as daily. And the headline here is Athens Council Majority Encourages Mask Wearing. Well, thank you. You're encouraging it, and everybody's going to ignore it.
Right. And I
understand.
George,
Yeah.
I can see from your perspective, it's like, it's not even just a rude thing that you're doing. Like, you're actually doing a very reckless thing for people who are senior citizens to go into public areas where they're around other people. Not wearing a mask isn't just like expression of your freedom, but it's actually a reckless contribution to endangerment of people like you and other people who just want to be able to go to the store and go back home as healthy as they walked in, right? And
I gotta
it's a
eat.
scary thing. You gotta eat.
I gotta eat. In order to eat, I have to
What
go
am
to
I
the
gonna do?
store.
Forget about it.
I gotta go to the store. I gotta buy food.
Yeah, it's a nutty thing right now. Scott, it sounds like you're thinking some stuff. What are you thinking right now?
Yeah, it's terrible. I mean, I don't know. I've seen. It seems like people here in my neck of the woods are pretty, for the most part, pretty good about it. Like, I hardly ever go to a store or some public place where people are not wearing masks, and I think that's a reflection of the body politic here. That it's mainly a very progressive type of area that I live in. But you do have some people that are diehard Trump people, and the not wearing mask goes right along with it. And it's so disheartening, to see that. I don't know what to really say. I mean, if I see someone, I'm speaking out. Like if I see a person not wearing a mask, I'll say, look, and they'll accuse me of being a she or whatever.
Yeah, I haven't gotten that far. I would say this. It's one thing to not wear a mask, and also in my head, it's another thing to wear a mask but do so improperly. Because one is, hey, I'm choosing not to do this, and I'm like, great, I can see you from a mile away. I'm staying away from you. And you guys might realize, so for Black people, there's two different kinds of racism that we watch out for. There's the explicit variety and then the complicit variety. And it's the explicit one that's okay, sure, Confederate flag tattoo, giant truck that says we don't care about. It's thank you for saving me time from trying to get to know you. That's great. That's good. But it's the people who are I don't see a problem here. What? George Floyd? I don't know. Some things happen, some things don't happen. It's oh, you're a dangerous
Good
person.
people on both sides.
Yeah, you're the actual danger here because you're encouraging people to have that kind of mentality and ignore a problem. And so in the same sense, people who don't wear masks, it's oh, that's a problem, but I can stay 6 feet away from you and hopefully I'll be all right. But it's the people who wear a mask, but they only have it over their mouths. And they're the receptionist area, and they're handing money back out, or they're handling food at Burger King. I drove to a Burger King, and it's lady, mask down here, gloved one hand, glove not the other hand, dishing out cards from a lot of different people, holding my bags of food and bringing it out to me. I'm just ooh, I'm not going to go to buy food right now. There's a standard for, and people who just throw their masks out on the ground. I can't tell you how many times I've seen a mask just in a parking lot or next to a bin. These are biohazards, and people are just throwing away improperly. And coming from a science background and you medical background, Larry, and maybe even from your military expertise, you would know that not all trash is treated the same way.
Right.
And some contaminations need to be thrown away in their own separate waste streams, and were not meant for public disposal, especially not on the ground. There's things like that just make me really
And
worried.
what kills me is that, they say that they wear their mask below their nose because they say they can't breathe.
Yeah.
I mean, doctors wear those things day in and day out, 8 to 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
Would you excuse your doctor from doing that?
Right.
During an operation?
And
it's a nonsense answer. It's a dishonest answer.
And it feeds into a complicit idea of it's not I'm not caring about wearing a mask, but by wearing it improperly, you're likewise contributing to a problem, right? Yep. What's the point of covering your mouth and not breathe through your mouth and breathe out of your nose? You're still doing the same thing. George, did you raise your hand? What's up? You need to unmute yourself, Debbie.
You're muted.
You need to unmute yourself, Bubba.
Okay. One thing I'm noticing is whole families shopping without masks on, and as a group, I'm seeing groups of people without wearing masks, small groups, and mothers with infants, babies. The other day, I was shocked to see a young woman carrying a newborn without masks on, and I'm obviously upset.
I will say this though, as upset as we are today, I have the cure for everybody, the single thing that's going to fix us all, and it's some spiritual healing, baby. We're going to go into spiritual healing today. That was quite the introduction. But let's talk about spiritual healing and how it's going to save everybody.
Well, let's define it first.
Hey, that is a fantastic thing. Larry, Scott, you seem like the person who is not only with a medical background, but also would probably know some things about spiritual healing. Would you mind telling me about it? Because I put spiritual healing into my Google Maps on the internet, on the old internets, and I have red dots popping up all around my city. I can't wait to check out all these places. What's spiritual healing?
So just to clarify, I don't really have a medical background. I just work in hospitals doing the IT, whatever. Anyways, yeah, from what I understand about spiritual healing is it's like a form of magic. You know, that's really all I can say.
Voodoo.
The way that I understand it, for the most part, generally, you're either calling on powers from God or powers from spirits or powers from somewhere, some other invisible place and there's different forms. There's I don't know if you understand, you know about chi, the power of chi, like this internal power that more Eastern wisdom traditions teach about channeling your body's own energies to open up channels in your body that might be in pain or suffering or something like that. None of this stuff is scientifically proven. And if anything, it may give people a placebo effect where they think they feel better. And it helps them feel better, but it may not be, curing anything. And that can be inflated to think that it's curing them or doing something significant for them. But I don't know of any evidence that that's really the case.
Can I throw out? So you had mentioned voodoo, Larry. I have family from St. Thomas, and that's actually a thing.
Well, I'm sure.
We grew up with. It's the idea or the mindset of, all medicine does is activate the things that are inside of you to take care of yourself.
Oh, there's a medical term for that.
Talk to me.
Homeostasis. That will bring you back quicker than, that is your mechanism for bringing you back to health. When you
it's how you get back to equilibrium.
The spiritual healers seem to hijack that and call it, theirs, that they are using the spirit to do that. Right. They're saying, hey, we have a better shortcut that's all natural, no additives, no weird chemicals and stuff like that. That just awakens your body to fix itself in the way how your body's naturally able to do it. Pure energy. Sometimes in the form of light, sometimes in the crystals, sometimes in hexes, sometimes in just thoughts and prayers. We can call our hotline spirit to help you out. There's a number of different things. In fact, and I am not promoting this, but the nearest spiritual health institute nearby me is actually a university. It's a holistic spiritual university, and they offer degrees, bachelor's, master's, and doctors of divinity degrees. So you can also become a minister at these places too. It's fantastic. And I won't plug the website, but I'm just scrolling through it right now, and it's amazing. There's a word I'd like to throw out there in the middle of that. Accreditation. Is it accredited?
I'm sure it is by them. They're called the Awakening Institute.
They probably accredit others.
Oh, God.
There are no grades. Oh, my gosh. I'm reading through this. This is great. There's no grades. You don't have to worry about grades. Sometimes negative influences on the learning process are bypassed through our artificial standards offer negative influences on the learning process. So there's no grades at this school. I love it. I wonder, because it's not the only, what the main point was, this isn't the only one. It's not like a one and done sort of thing or a passing fad. These are actual buildings you can drive to with people staffed in them who probably have a mentality that COVID is something that can be solved through their methodologies. And there is the harm of, like I said, of a person who wears a mask incorrectly. It's like, sure, okay, we can fix that. There's just a couple of fixes. And then there's the person who doesn't want to wear a mask because of political reasons, which is its own problem. But then there are the people who are teaching other people how to resolve real diseases through very unsubstantiated claims. And I find this to be some of the most dangerous forms of misinformation altogether, because these are people who are actively recruiting people onto the side against science and rational discourse.
Yeah, you got to remember there's an opportunity cost involved in that as well. I mean, if you take your time and your money and your energy and you go after spiritual healing or crystals or whatever, you are forsaking and not going after actual medical help that might be able to cure your situation.
Absolutely.
And
I think,
remember that this is what did in Steve Jobs.
whoa, what are you talking about?
Well, Steve Jobs was, if I remember right, he had pancreatic cancer, and he was going after some alternative way to try to heal that. And as Larry just said, he was blowing his opportunity to try to pursue a more realistic remedy for that. I want to say that, I moved here from California, the home of the nuts and the berries. And there's an awful lot of spiritual nonsense where I moved here from.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So I just looked this up, the story.
I mean, I've had it run rampant in a family close to me. Let me put it that way.
Sure.
I tend to be scientifically minded, and again, I seem to be coming here with an attitude this morning.
No, you're fine. You're fine. You're absolutely great. But what you're saying about Steve Jobs was accurate. He was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer in 2003, but delayed surgery for 9 months, even though it was like a critical stage cancer, so they could try different alternative medicine, special diet, and some other things too. So yeah, 9 months, man. That is the make or break point, right? It's a sad thing when if you're looking for an answer. Here's the two things. It's the same mindset of a conspiracy theorist. If you want a particular answer to be true, you can search for the pool of answers that are available, find the ones that you like, and keep those and hope those are the actual correct, true answers. And for like a conspiracy theorist who wants to believe in Bigfoot, it's like you're not going to listen to National Geographic. They're not going to listen to Nature magazine or anything like that. They're going to go to BigfootIsrael.com and get all the details from them and all the pictures from them. And they'll be like, this proves this thing is right. But it's not about getting evidence to support your claims. It's about parsing the evidence that's available into true and false columns and being able to do that in a reliable. And the thing with these kind of like spiritual kind of systems is like they are offering answers to people who don't want to wear masks, who feel like the government isn't trustworthy, who feel like the science isn't like rational enough for them to actually be afraid of anything, and maybe don't want to consider COVID actual threat to their lives and their family. This is like an available resource of information and news that they can aspire to listen to, or they find really attractive, but it doesn't necessarily make it true. And that's the problem, because we're living in a time right now where the advice of experts and leadership is more distrusted than ever before. And if we can't parse true things from false things in a global society, we all suffer if everyone except 10% of people aren't wearing face masks or aren't getting vaccinated, because we're interacting with each other all the time.
Right.
And so we need an effort to highlight why it's important to be able to tell true things from false things. Else we're all going to suffer together, because we're all in this pool. I have one last analogy. I have the kiddie pool analogy. It's like we're sitting in a kiddie pool and one person decides to take a leak in the kiddie pool. And you're just like, no, we're all in this kiddie pool together. What are you doing? It's just like, I have a right to pee in this pool. It's like, no, you don't.
That's my area.
You're ruining it for everybody. It's just like, don't pee in the kiddie pool, guys.
Consistency.
I like that.
People lose. People are not consistent, and they don't even think about it. Like they say, well, the government doesn't have a right to tell me what to wear. Like they can't tell me I have to wear a mask, but you have to wear clothes. You have to wear all kinds of things, and you don't complain about that. It's like, why are you nitpicking about this, which is actually saving lives? where wearing clothes is probably bad on other people's eyes, but
right. Also, if we
life-threatening.
Also, what sucks is if we had an administration where that can encourage both sides, because we're very polarized in this country. But if we could have an administration that can assess with both sides to be like, hey, as a unified message, let's tell the American people that this is a good thing for them, rather than one side saying like, hey, the scientists are saying this, and the other side automatically picking the opposite thing and being like, no, because we want to win this election. It's just like, oh, you took bipartisan job hunting into this really weird realm where you guys will have these beautiful benefits and healthcare coverage, but the people that you're talking to don't. And because of that, like they need proper information to at least protect themselves on this basal level. It's like, hey, if we're coughing, we can get each other sick, please.
They politicize everything. Climate change, COVID, everything's becoming political, unfortunately.
It's not good. Hopefully things can get better. At least we've made some steps this November to hopefully fix that. We got 60-ish more days to go, but we'll see how we can make America great already even better. Again, Larry, I think we're at the bottom of the half hour. How about you take us out?
Sure. This is the Digital Freethought Radio Hour on WOZO Radio, 103.9 LP FM right here in Knoxville, Tennessee. And we'll be right back after this short break.
It takes 1,000 hands to rebuild a human being. More than money in an offering plate to change a life. It takes more than 1 hour on Sunday to understand why.
Our hearts, our minds, and our doors are always open.
Hello and welcome back to the second half of the Digital Freethought Radio Hour. I'm Dr. 5 and we're on WOZO Radio 103.9 LPFM here in Knoxville, Tennessee. Today is Sunday morning, November 22nd, 2020. And let's talk about the atheist free-thinking groups that you might be able to join here in Knoxville, Tennessee. First, there's the Atheist Society of Knoxville. ASK was founded in 2002. We're in our 18th year. ASK has over 1,000 members now, and you can find us online at knoxvilleatheist.org, or you can go directly to Meetup or Google or whatever and search for Knoxville Atheist. It's just that simple. By the way, if you don't live in Knoxville, you should still go to Meetup and search for an atheist group in your town. Don't find one? Start one. Another large free-thinking group here in Knoxville, the Rationalists of East Tennessee. You can find RET at rationalist.org. Go there and click on upcoming events to find out more about what they're up to. Earlier in the show, we said we talked about Knoxville's Atheist Call-In TV show. Well, it's called Freethinkers United Coalition of Knoxville. And you can find them on YouTube by searching those terms. You can also find their archives by looking up Freethought Forum Knoxville. Also, if you're interested in getting involved in the TV or the radio show, just come to an Ask Meetup or RET meeting and talk to us about it. You could be our next co-host or guest. Wombat, where would you like to pick up?
それはこの番組はグランスパンスの提供ですお送りしました。
At least what language is
Atheism.
that?
Atheism. What is it all about? To?
Cool.
私の愛どこ私の愛どこ私の愛どこ私の愛私の愛私の愛どこ Where's love, guys?
Oh, is that what it is?
We're going to be talking about
Where's the love? Listener
feedback, guys. So Echo-centric Homestead said, hey, on last week's show, we were talking about what do atheists actually believe? And we had a lot of really good comments on last week's channel. And Echo-centric Homestead said, atheist just refers to a lack of belief. They can't be defined by what they do believe. And so it was a really good conversation to hear what you guys actually did believe. And that's true. And I think, you know, even in that last segment where we're just saying like, hey, name some labels that do describe what your beliefs, what your background were. That was the most enlightening for me because I learned things about you guys, despite the fact that we've been talking for years and chatting for years. Like, oh, I finally knew these things about you. That's great. Like, we knew you're atheist, but I didn't know anything actually about what you did positively believe. I think that was wonderful.
Cool.
Dada's Trading Room says, what do atheists believe? Atheists either believe that no God exists, or they believe that there isn't sufficient evidence to believe that any gods exist. I would argue that atheists don't believe that no God exists, though there are agnostic atheists who do maybe have that kind of belief. Atheism is just
Gnostic beliefs. Gnostic
beliefs,
atheists. Yeah.
Yeah. Atheism is just the lack of belief in God. And there are people who will add stuff to that, like Republican atheists or like conservative atheists, liberal atheists who think like, hey, I don't believe in a God and you shouldn't eat animals. But that doesn't fall into the atheist label. It's atheism plus something else. James Corletta says, atheism is one thing, a lack of belief in gods. Atheism is not an affirmative belief that there is no God or gods. Humanism is the belief that all humans are equal, and as I'm concerned with, there is only one race of humans, regardless of the culture or skin color or any other differences from one being to another human. Let all humankind get along. I love that. James Carletta gets the winning heart comment of the show. And yeah, you know what? Let's just leave it on that great note. Great job, guys. And thank you so much for all the feedback. Feel free to leave more comments and we'll go over them in the next week's show. Yeah. What we were talking about today was, COVID's getting worse. We just reached 12 million cases of infections just in the United States of America. That's nuts. While other countries, on the other hand, are, in the thousands or probably already resolved completely. New Zealand is completely resolved with COVID. England's already opened up its movie theaters and stuff like that. The world is looking at America and being like, what's taking you guys so long? We figured this out. It's like, what's going on over here? And now we have, before when it was January, it was just like, how bad is this disease? How fast is it spreading? How bad is it? Like, what's the death rates? Now we have all the data. Like, now we can look at all the different countries. We can figure out what they were doing compared to what we were doing and be like, they were doing it better than how we were doing it because they don't have this problem anymore. All these guys did the same thing. We're not doing that thing and we still have the problem. So why can't we get our stuff together? And that leads us into the second half of like, what can we do better? What can we inform our medical industry to say? What can we say to each other to make ourselves more considerate to each other? George, I'll have you start. What was on your mind?
Well, again, I'm holding up this the not so daily Post Athenian, my local newspaper, and its headline: Athens Council majority encourages mask wearing. So I think the first part of how to solve this problem is to keep ourselves alive. And I mean, that's where I'm at, It's like the stewardess on the airplane says to the passengers, first put your mask on, then put the mask on the baby, And so we've got to keep ourselves alive. And here in Tennessee, I understand that there's one county that has made it mandatory to wear masks in public places. And I can't remember what county it is. But my county has just voted the city council has voted to tell people to wear masks, and they're not going to wear masks.
Right.
So you've got to do it legally. You've got to put muscle behind the words.
It is mandatory in the county, just 2 counties above me, where Nashville's located. So it is actually mandatory there. You can get fined, but no one, I don't believe, actually does. And there's so many people in Nashville. So, but that is a good thing too. But you're right. I wouldn't say necessarily like, how do I put it? We need to make people care. And there's only so much stick you can put on that carrot, but you need to make people care that there's a carrot there. If that makes any sense. Because I don't need a more gung-ho police state to live in personally in 2020. What I'm looking for is just more considerate people. And how can we inspire that in people? How can we make people care again? Scott, what do you think?
Yeah, it goes back to a little prevention is worth more than a pound of cure. So if we can get people to, wear the mask and social distance, that's the practical aim that we should have. As to why they're not doing that, it seems like it comes from a place of political bias and mistrust of science and mistrust of media and information. And so I talk to people all the time about it on social media and things like that. And it seems like they think that there's a big conspiracy. And so it's just hard we have to get them to understand that the consensus of science is not a fallacy to appeal to, because they oftentimes will tell you, well, you're just appealing to most scientists. Well, that's an appeal to authority. That's not a way to arrive at truth. And it's like, no, they're actual authorities though. And there's nothing wrong with appealing to actual authorities. They don't understand that. And then, then it becomes, well, even if they are actual authorities, we don't trust them because they want to make money, and it's just, you have to overcome these conspiracy theories, but that may be a big job. And you have to start with trying to understand what goes through these people's minds. Where are they coming from? Because I think we need to get there, and that's what I'm trying to figure out. Where are they coming from? What's the root of this?
George.
Scott, I would like to follow up on what you just said, because it's something that has been on my mind. I mean, I came here about 5 years ago from California, and it's taken me a long time to just be able to understand, to any degree, really, the difference in thought, in thinking. And the one thing that I'm aware of right now is that a lot of people around me are afraid of people who are different than them and people who live in other places. In other words, there is this us versus them mentality. And I think there is a true fear of the other. And the scientist has been made to be the other to them. This is so
very true.
The solution will not happen before more people die. This is going to, I'm not going to be alive when this problem is solved. The psychology.
There's still the chance that you could survive even this, and then brace yourself for the more crazy thing that'll happen in 2022. That'll be the crazy.
Well, no, I'm just saying because of my age, because I'm so old, that I mean, I'm older than I look, and I'm just saying it is. There has to be a wholesale revolution in the way people are thinking, despite the fact that they are being bombarded with, I'm trying to use polite language that's suitable for radio.
Yeah.
And I'm having a hard time.
Larry and I appreciate that. Though, hey, can I throw something at you, George, and you let me know if this sounds good?
Yeah.
I think what we have is we have leadership that is not informing masses appropriately. And we have a contentious administration right now led by Trump who has documented examples of him calling this a hoax, calling this just a political move by other countries, that it's one country's fault, it's not our fault, that he won't wear a mask, literally said won't wear a mask, you should just breathe bleach fumes, you should take this random thing that ended up not working at all. And then when he got sick with COVID, he gets helicoptered out to, the most expensive hospital, gets the best drugs possible, and comes back, takes off his mask, and says, there was no problem whatsoever. I'm just going to keep not wearing a mask, no problem whatsoever. And he, meanwhile, is still systematically infecting everyone in his cabinet and his staff. Like, until we have someone that's not representing America, or until we have someone that is representing America showing that that's taking it seriously, you're not going to have the people who are looking up to that one person or that one example as proof that this is an actual problem. You'll always have it be like, this is something happening in Seattle, but the president doesn't care about it, so it must not be a big problem. Likewise, we need to have unity. We really need to have unity on this particular issue, because it's killing Americans, whether they're red or blue, or whether they're whatever color in between.
I have a little fear, though.
Yeah, go for it.
The fear that I have is that the reason that these people are rebelling against, science and media and things like that isn't necessarily because of Trump or because of a specific leader. I think the leaders are responding to their base of people. And so you have to kind of dig a little deeper there and say, what is it about these base of people that's motivating them?
Yeah, let's dig down to the foundation.
Yeah, let's cut the knees out from these people. Let's
Okay.
figure out what it is
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Can I throw something out? I think I might have something here. I just think it's anti-intellectualism in its core. I think it's people who, in a sense, don't like feeling like they don't know something. And as a result, automatically distrust people who do know something that they don't. And it's like, what do you mean you know something? Because I can tell if you're stronger than me, you would have bigger muscles. I can tell if you're faster than me, you'd be in front of me. But what do you mean if you're smarter than me? You're not smarter than me. Can you take a carburetor out of a truck? I can. You can. It's like, no, but I can make a vaccine that'll stop you from the disease. I don't trust your vaccine magic. That's
like you said, intellectualism, like these same people correlate to religious thinkers too. And scientists and people that are forward thinking are not religious. So then we get back to this us versus them thing.
Right.
Well, I can't trust anything these atheists think because they're scientists and they're pushing all this fake news on me.
Right.
Because they're trying to destroy my religion and take my God away.
They're taking my culture.
Right.
Taking my Jesus away.
Yeah.
No, I have a book that has all the answers. What do you mean you have different answers? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Like, you're belittling my beliefs when you come out with new science that helps my life. That's not what I'm into.
Yeah.
People are tapping into something. George, what do you think?
Well, I can't remember this guy's name. There's a fellow in Berkeley, or near Berkeley, California. He's a linguist, and I need to read some of the stuff that this man has written, because I think that language is a key. Language will be a way in. And the other side, if I may be so bold as to say this, have been using psychologists in their think tanks to frame language, to understand how to convince the rest of us to the way of thinking that they want, the indoctrination, the propaganda. There is a steady supply of propaganda that some people are being exposed to. They're in their own echo chamber, and the propaganda is coming at them every single day. And they're not listening to us. But at the very core of it, when we speak with them, when we have the opportunity to speak with them, the words that we use may matter a lot. And to be honest, I don't know what the right words are. I don't know how to make this communication happen, but I have to think that if we are going to have democracy, the success of our society is going to rest upon people who really can think rationally and can understand whatever the truth happens to be. And right now, this is ripped apart.
Right. And we need to make the effort to inspire critical thought in other people. And we can do that through argument, debates, but also street epistemology, I think, or Socratic examination. There's room for that as well. Scott, what do you think?
Yes.
Something that's really valuable. I was reading this about a couple of weeks ago. I forgot who the author was. It's a psychological book, but it was talking about people's beliefs are not formed by what the people themselves think. They don't believe things for the reasons that they think they do. That it's all really based on feeling. Feeling is what motivates what we believe and the choices we make and the behaviors we exhibit. So the language has to make people feel a certain way. Just dispensing facts does not waver them away from beliefs that are more rooted in deep-seated feelings that they may get from church or from certain church leaders or people that make them feel good or make them feel a certain kind of way. These facts are just cold and it just goes over their head or they don't care. No, you're absolutely right. Because how many times have we seen a graph where it's like, these are how many people are dying, and it just keeps going up, and you're watching, you're like, that's just a blue line for a lot of people, you know? I mean, on a bigger scale, and this might sound really bad, and I hate saying it, but we know that people have changed their view about the Bible and religion based on the culture. It just becomes undeniable that the world is round and that, you know, we're not the center of the universe. And then they've kind of incorporated these facts into their religious interpretation.
Sure.
And now they can feel good about talking about facts in that religious context. I mean, unfortunately, it may be that these new facts that we come up with, these things that we want to change society, has to be incorporated within their structures, in their belief structures. So, and it sounds like a cop-out, or it sounds like a compromise, but it may be effective.
So we had, in my science background, we were making biofuels, like to supplement fossil fuels. But when Trump got into office, when we were in the Obama administration, it was like, hey, we're making this to supplement fossil fuel platforms. We're making these biodiesels that are sustainable and renewable, and this is like a good way to alternatively supplement our fossil fuels, which are limited supply. But when Trump came to office, all the terminology that we were using to sell needed research to generate these renewable fuels had to change, because the conservative mindset is fossil fuels will be forever. There's no need to come up with alternative fuels. So we were like, I see. Well, then we are making renewable fuels as a way to better leverage our domestic supply of fuels, which is crucial for our domestic security. And like, there was a completely different set of words that we had to use. So we got the research funding, but we had to curvetail it and dovetail it to appeal to a different kind of mindset. And if that's what it takes to get people to wear masks, I'm fine with people at church being like, hey, look what God invented. It's a vaccine. Isn't God awesome?
Yeah,
like, he made this thing for us. Yeah. I'm like, okay, fine. Take the shots, guys, one by one. Do it with the bread, a little bit of grape juice, and get the thing in your arm and get out of here. What do you think, George?
I love that. You see, what you just said is that God created the science, God created the scientists, God created the vaccine. You know, really lay it on like
now
this.
Get vaccinated. And get
okay. The guy who I mentioned before is named George Lakoff, and you can read about him at georgelakoff.com.
Okay.
And we're going to have to use language as well as they do, and
we have to market it. We have to be better marketers of good ideas.
Yeah, and I don't remember which of us just said this. We have to reach people at the emotional level. I don't think that doing it on the basis of reasoning is going to get to their hearts, because they have been deeply indoctrinated to think. Yeah,
I do want to say this in the contest of messaging, in the contest of getting a message out there. The truth will always have a handicap to falsehoods, because the truth doesn't taste good half the time, even half the time. But a good lie, ooh, that's the most delicious thing every single time. It's junk food, it's chocolate, it's sweet, it's perfectly savory. The truth is like cornbread with a cracker on it. It's like, it's a little dusty. It's like, but it's true though. It's like, yeah, but it doesn't taste as good as this. It's like, that's a Twinkie that's been deep fried in chocolate. And it's like, yeah, it's delicious.
Package the vaccine as holy out in the churches.
So how do we better market the truth? In my opinion, it's not so much dressing up the truth. You don't need to dress up the truth. What you need to do is make people appreciate the truth more. And in my mindset, I used to love candy. It was the only, I had a hard time not eating candy for a long time. And then one New Year's resolution, I said, I'm not going to eat candy for a year. And I did it for a full year. And I bought so much candy on New Year's Day to celebrate the time when I could eat candy again. I had a table full of it, like a literal bar table full of candy. I had Gushers, gummy worms, everything, like all my favorite stuff. And the second New Year's rolled around, I'm like, can't wait to eat these things. Put the first thing in my mouth, I'm like, whoa, way too sour. Spat it out. Tried something else. Don't like this. Tried something else. I'm like, I don't think I can eat any of this. I packed up all the candy and I just gave it away to some of the workers at work. I had fundamentally changed the way how I appreciate flavors. Yeah. And since then, I haven't tried candy again. It's been like 3 years since. That's what we need to do for the people who need to be truth seekers. We need to give them an appreciation for truth versus their lies that they're operating on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
making
what do
Christian
you
government-
guys?
Get them to give it up for a year.
Hey, wouldn't it be great if it was like, hey man, just don't listen to Fox News, CSBN, MSC, all
Or
this.
preachers.
Just do that for 1 year. Or
Yeah,
preachers.
1 year. Yeah.
What if you did 1 year where you weren't religious? Just try it and see what happens. Oh, could you imagine how many people would just be like, what have I been doing?
Right.
Just give 1 year unplugged. Just
Right.
try that. Ugh.
Amen.
You guys
Velocity.
all were conditioned by religion.
Yep.
I was not, so I gotta ask you for your view about whether what I'm going to say sounds plausible, and it's a repeat of what I said a couple of minutes ago. Can we affect them by saying that God created the scientists, that God created the vaccines, that God created the science?
I would prefer not. I know
Well-
it might appeal to some, but I don't think inversing a lie makes
Well, yeah.
it any closer to the truth.
I have a
overtly.
meme about Christian scientists. You know, when they're doing science, they're not doing religion. And when their science comes up with something against their religion or opposite to their religion, they are silenced
Yeah.
by religion, like Galileo and
Yeah.
several
Charles
other
Darwin.
scientists. Yeah.
No, all the greats.
Science and religion are separate things, and once again, religion tries to hijack the best things for itself, and in this case, it's hijacking science for itself.
Larry, are they actually silenced within their own minds? What do
I
you
would
think?
say
I
that
can't
too, yeah.
answer that.
Well, I couldn't think for them, but yeah, I would definitely say, like, I think Galileo was locked in prison.
Yeah, he
You know,
was
Socrates-
house arrest for 15 years,
He was
and
like,
his works
"This
were
isn't good."
burned.
Wow.
Charles Darwin, if you read his first, discourse on like the idea of like humans being just animals that, evolved like anything else,
Yeah, and they did
very delicate about how to approach that subject.
right. And who was it? Taco Bruno was
Tycho
was
Brahe?
No, it was Bruno. I can't remember his first name, but he was burned for his heretical statements about the planets and the sun being the center of the universe, or the center of the
Yeah,
galaxy.
there's the idea of, if the church
Solar
is
system.
funding me science, the church wants the answers that the church wants,
Right.
and not necessarily the
Right.
science answers.
Mhm.
And so it's like, when you come out with answers against the church, despite the fact that you're honestly looking for them,
Right.
that's a big problem.
Mhm.
There's interest in there, like your livelihood's there, your family.
And even a few years ago, the Pope came out against looking into the Big Bang. He said that would be like looking up the skirt of God, and examining God. We can't do that.
Yeah.
And so they're just trying to halt certain scientific advances in their footsteps. Evolution is one of them.
And
Gene therapy, what is it? Stem cell.
yeah,
They don't
stem
want us
cell research, yeah.
to look into that.
Everything in science has, like, there's an eventual political glass ceiling or a religious ceiling.
Right.
It's just like, we can make this awesome. Yeah, but what about God? It's like, what? God, I'm making carbon fibers. What are you talking about? Like, it makes no sense. I want to throw out one random. Oh, I had it. So the idea is like, there's a way to sign black. So if everyone's going to say Black Lives Matter, like, I can say Black Lives Matter, but the thing is, this means the color black. This is for people. This is how you say black people. So like, Black Lives Matter, right? Or important. And the reason why I'm distinguishing the two is because there are some knuckleheads in the Black sign language community, and it's a very small minority, that say only black people can sign like this because of the struggle. If white people want to say black people, they have to use the color. And I'm like, that is the dumbest thing possible. You shouldn't have skin color limitations on signs that you use for like everybody. And their mindset is, well, there was a period of time where black people had to struggle against racism. So what we're doing is just reversing it to solve racism. It's like, inverting racism doesn't solve racism. We get rid of racism by fighting against it, not by inverting it. And in the same sense, I don't want to come up with different lies to make science more appealing to religious people. I just want science to be the thing that people are naturally inclined to believe. And I don't want to dress it up in this religious skirt. I just want to be like, this is science. It's been around before your religion even existed. pay attention to it, because it's going to be the reason why you're listening to my voice right now. It's going to be the reason why you're wearing clothes right now. You don't need
So
dress it up.
but how are you going to make the transition?
I think we can do it one conversation.
That's the key.
My
That's
deal
the
is, I feel I can chat with anyone. I feel I can talk to anyone, and I think what I would encourage people to do is learn how Socratic examination works. Look at our videos and find out, if you frame a conversation around how people get their information rather than what the information is or about them personally. If you target, how do you inform yourself and how do you determine that this method is reliable or not? That's a great way to have a 5-minute conversation to make people start to believe that they need to pay more attention about how they parse true things from false things. And it tends to be the case that when people work on that on their own or with other people, the falsehoods fall to the bottom, the truths fall to or rise to the top. It happens consistently because science is predicated on the natural instinct on people wanting to know true things. And if we all work on this together, we're going to know true things, and we're going to know more true things than we had before. Scott, what do you think?
My fear is that the real truth is that a good portion of people don't care about truth. They care more about beliefs than truth.
Exactly.
And what we have to do is help them change that desire, because they're motivated by feelings, and if they feel stronger about beliefs than they do about truth, it's not going to help to kind of like rationalize with them or even get them to question their beliefs. They'll say, yeah, I know it's probably inconsistent, but I have faith, and that's all I need. Have a good day. But if we can get this hunger for truth, for real truth somehow, like maybe for me it was a pride thing too. Like somebody accused me once of being, when I was religious, accused me of being gullible, and oh, you're just gullible. And I was like, oh, what? I'm gullible? Wait a minute. I'm not gullible, am I?
Yeah.
Kind of like fostered a little critical thing, like, wait, maybe I am gullible, you know?
Oh, that's you. That's an incredible step on your part. So a lot of people hear that and be like, well, that guy's a jerk. I'm just going to keep doing my thing. But that is a Scott Williamson, like, I'm going to make sure I'm not gullible and actually change my life for the better. I want to know how to make that happen. And I feel like for me, it's the educators I had in my life, the ones who are like, it's not just the answers in the back of the book that I'm trying to teach you for. I'm trying to teach you how to do algebra. Like, I'm not trying to I don't care if you got the right answer. I care if you know how to get answers, or at least better answers than what you're getting right now. It's okay if you were wrong. Let's show the work and see where you messed up, because I want to improve your process. I'm like, these guys are the people who put me on the right track to thinking. The guys who are like my ethics teacher, who's like, hey, it's not just a list of rules in a book that makes morality. It's a system, it's a practice. Figure this out. Write a book and write a paper and tell me why something is wrong. Why is stealing wrong? Is it just because it was written in the Bible, or is it because you live in a society with other people and you don't want to get your stuff stolen?
Causing harm.
Contract. Yeah, like, think about it. It's just like, whoa.
Right.
And then you go back to the Bible and you're like, oh, this isn't fulfilling to me on an intellectual level. I'd rather talk to my ethics professor. I'd rather, read a book on science. I'd rather figure out how the universe works. And if my life is temporary, what is more important to me right now than realizing this wonderful universe that I'm in and detailing it to as much as I can, contributing to the detailing of it. And I think, as Carl Sagan had said, like, we are the universe, human beings, trying to figure out ourselves, right? Like, trying to figure out itself.
Sure.
See, that touches on what people call spirituality. That's the part of our psychology that he was messing with, that spiritual side of our mindset, because he was saying, look, you are the universe experiencing itself. Woo. Like, this kind of touches a feeling, a deep seated feeling, and it makes people wake up and say, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, so there's an in-between there. I would agree. There's a gray zone where it's like, hey, he is saying, like, we are the matter of the universe, formatted in a manner where it's like, hey, we can think, and nothing was figured out for us. It's not like we were born in a society where all these problems are solved and we're just flying in rocket ships. Like, we have this beautiful, unique opportunity to be like, we're on the frontier of figuring out how this thing works. Maybe 4 galaxies away from now, people have already figured out, but they aren't here now. We have the opportunity to figure this out ourselves. Fresh blank slate. How wonderful is that? And what a waste of an opportunity would it be for given the random, like the roughly 100 years that we have on this planet, to be like, this one book is all I need to think about. Let me just hear these gospel songs over and over and over again from childhood to deathbed. It's like, no, think what you could do. Think about what you can do. Like, think about Elon Musk, what he's doing, and be like, oh, I could do better than that. Yeah, go for it. You totally can. Just try to contribute,
I saw a lecture. I think it was kind of a scientific lecture, but there's a physicist named Max Tegmark. He's a big physicist, and he was talking about consciousness and the brain, and he has his own theory of consciousness and things like that. And somebody in the audience says, yeah, but you're trying to say that consciousness, all it is chemicals and neurochemistry and matter. That's all it is. And then Max Tegmark said, well, the problem with your statement is when you say all it is. Like, why does that take things away from?
Yeah, like, why isn't that even more amazing? Like,
yeah, and he went into the magic of it, and the guy was like, wow, I never really thought about it that way. Actually, your theory kind of makes mine look like child's play. I kind of like, this makes me feel better. And the guy said, that's what it is, selling, packaging the information in a way that makes people feel good about science, feel good about knowledge,
And we got to make sure we make people feel good about critically thinking. So we're nearing the end of the show. George, you say we should check out georgelakoff.com, right?
Yes, that's what I was going to say. You took the words out of my mouth. You guys do what you want, but I heard George Lakoff a few times on the radio before I came here. It must have been around 10 years ago, and he struck a chord in me, and I just decided it's time for me to revisit him and see what he's got to say. So let me just throw that out. GeorgeLakoff.com.
GeorgeLakoff.com. Very nice.
Yeah.
Scott Williamson, anything you would plug for next week's show? Anything we should check out before next week?
Nothing in specific.
Okay.
Sorry.
I would recommend that you Google Maps spiritual healing and see how many places pop up around you. Do you have more than 3? Let's see. We'll call that the record. See if you have more than 3 places that pop up for spiritual healing around you in a 50-mile radius. Larry, what do you want to take us out?
Yeah, I'd also like people to Google spiritual manipulation, which is what preachers do. And it's also what directors do in movies. They manipulate your spirit so that you feel a certain way going through the movie and at the end of the movie. And preachers do that as well in church. Spiritual manipulation. This has been the Digital Freethought Radio Hour. Be sure to visit digitalfreethought.com for our radio show archives, atheist songs, and many articles on the subject. My book is called Atheism, What's It All About? There it is.
Or and Atheism, What It's All About, if you get it from Canada.
What It's All About, and it's available on Amazon. And if you're having trouble leaving religious beliefs behind, visit Recovering from Religion. They might be able to help you with your emotional or mental problems doing that. If you have questions for the show, send them to Ask an Atheist at knoxvilleatheist.org, and we'll answer them on future shows. If you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe and be notified when new episodes are posted. And remember, everybody is going to somebody else's hell. The time to worry about it is when they prove that heavens and hells and souls are real. Until then, don't sweat it. Enjoy your life, and we'll see you next week. Say bye, everybody.
Sayonara.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.